Hey, this is the Fun Farm Tech, bringing a super special video today. Um, it's been a while since I made a video, but I had a thought that I have a good friend who's in pharmacy school, and I reached out to them, asked if they'd come on the make a video with me. His name's Trevor. You can see him in the corner.
Hello.
So I'm gonna go ahead and ask some questions that you can see on the right. We'll ask some questions, try to get some more information about going to pharmacy school. I know a lot of us have the desire to end up in pharmacy school and being pharmacists. So hopefully we can get some information from him and just to get some experience. So I do have the chat open, so feel free to ask any questions to him that you might think of, and we'll go ahead and ask him, and we'll see if we can stump him or give him a hard time. But we'll go ahead and start. Questions might be in order, they might not. We'll just kind of see how the conversation goes. But Trevor, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
And so first, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about, um, what. Let's. I guess just starting off, how long have you been in pharmacy school for?
Yeah, so I'm halfway through my second year. So I'm a what they call a P2 or second year of pharmacy school. For my program, it is a 3-year program, so I only have 5 more months of classes, and then my third year, which is my final year, it's all just rotation. So I'm getting pretty excited to be done with classes.
Okay. And do you? I mean, are you going to school year round? Like, do you not really have breaks? I mean, I understand. 4 years is the some pharmacy schools, I guess, have 4 years. Others have three. But do you feel like you're just going to school nonstop?
Yeah, so my first year we started in August, and then throughout school you go on rotations. They start getting you into rotations early, and then during the summer we don't. We only have a 6-week summer. The other part of the summer is you're on other rotations. So you do rotations throughout the year, where like 1 week, 1 day out of every 2 weeks, you're at a rotation site. And then during the summer, there were 6 weeks of rotations, and then we had 6 weeks off. So not as long of a summer as probably normal school.
Okay, but I bet it's nice. You know, I imagine if you would have done that 4 years, by the fourth year, you'd be thinking, okay, I'm ready to be done. So work hard at the beginning, and it'll pay off in the long run, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some advantages of both. Um, if you have 4 years, you have longer to figure out what you want to do and do extracurricular activities that make you stand out. So you get a year longer to figure that stuff out. Um, but with 3 years, obviously, you get done sooner, can start a career sooner. So there's there's goods and bads with both.
Okay. Now, why did you decide pharmacy school?
Yeah, so I started going to college, doing my undergrad, just taking a bunch of classes. I knew I liked science. I liked chemistry and biology, so I just was taking those classes and looking at careers in those areas. Um, and in my chemistry building, there was, a list of careers that you could do with chemistry, and pharmacy was on there. It kind of just stood out to me, so I started the process of getting certified as a pharmacy tech to see if it's something that I would like. So I became a tech, and started working in a pharmacy and really liked it. So I continued to pursue pharmacy school.
Right on. And with a lot of the classes, excuse me, um, so a lot of pharmacy schools, well, I guess all pharmacy schools, they have like the minimum prerequisite that you have to meet in order to be considered. Some of those classes being chemistry, biology, physics, organic chemistry, all those classes. Um, do you feel like you use a lot of that material that you've learned in the classes, or do you feel like, I just remember when I was taking those classes, I thought, well, when the heck am I going to be using this information? Do you feel like you're using a lot of that information, or do you feel like um, a lot of it just has to do kind of with what your final career path is?
Yeah, so a lot of those classes, it's kind of like a foundation. Um, you know, you talk about anatomy of the body, and you talk about chemistry. Uh, you take biochem classes in my first year, so a lot of that's foundational. A lot of it's practical. Like a lot of schools will require public speaking as a prereq, and you're talking to patients every day, so you need to be able to talk to people. And during pharmacy school, you're doing presentations. You're doing drug literature reviews and presenting on them. So it's all kind of foundational. Not necessarily saying you're going to use everything from those classes, like during OChem, all of the pathways and chemical structures. You may not be using that, but it's foundational to um, what you're learning about in biochem and how drugs work in the body.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna interrupt you right there, um, but we do have a question from her hair fetish one. She says, so my grades were kind of poor for a semester. I got a few W's and a few F's, but I plan to keep my grades really good from now on. Will this affect me getting into a college of pharmacy in the future?
Yeah. So the way that the application process works is you submit all your grades, even if you make up that W or you make up that F. Um, um, you still have to submit those as grades, but they will see. They usually like to see, okay, you made a mistake or something dramatic happened in your life where, um, you know, you couldn't keep up with that semester, whether it was life happening or whatever it was. They like to see you recover from that. So definitely, it's not gonna stop you from getting into school,
Now,
but also show that you're gonna do better from then on, and they'll they'll probably ask you about that in your interview if you get an interview to a school, and then you can just explain, you know, I learned from my mistakes and I did better, and this is really what I want to do.
now, from what I've researched with pharmacy schools, it kind of also depends on the school that you apply to. Some some they take the average grade for the class. Some take the high grade. Some don't consider the low grade. Sometimes it just replaces it flat out. Have you heard or experienced that as well?
Yeah, so the pharmacy application process goes through a website called Pharmcast, and they have their own system that calculates your GPA. So that's why I was saying you put in all of your grades. So you put in that W and you put in that F, and then you put in the grade that you get after that. You put in your B or your A that you get in after that. So you put in all of it, and it averages out everything. So the PharmCast system will calculate your GPA based off of every grade you've ever gotten. But the individual school may not look at that W or look at that F because you've made it up with the A or a B.
Okay. Now we do have another question from Michelle Lewis. Or they ask, do you have to go to pharmacy school to be a pharmacy technician? I'll go ahead and answer this one, but no, you do not. It depends on the state that you're living in, and I'll go ahead and take note, and try to link into the comments below. But depending on the state, some states require that you do go to pharmacy technician school, and you take your class for that, or you take schools for that before you can be a pharmacy technician. But there are other states where you can just study and take a test and pass. I'm from Arizona. In Arizona, that's how it is. You study and you just take the test, and if you pass it, then you're a pharmacy technician. So there's that answer. Now another question that we have from Lachina5. It looks like a lot of schools are looking for people who have some kind of pharmacy or healthcare experience. Do you know of anyone who is accepted into pharmacy school without any experience? So with people, yeah, go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, there are several students that I know of who had never set foot in a pharmacy before and hadn't really have any kind of healthcare experience. I think it's a bonus. It gives you points towards getting in with that experience, but you can definitely get in without having any kind of experience. There's a good friend of mine at school where he was a salesman. He was a security system salesman, and that's all he did before pharmacy school. He didn't have any kind of healthcare work experience, but so it is a bonus. It is something that they look for, but not required. So you could definitely get in without that experience.
Awesome. Those are great questions. So I'll go ahead and so did you, before getting your prerequisites, did you get a degree, or did you just do the prerequisites to get into pharmacy school?
Yeah, so I started doing classes and chose a degree to go along with my prereqs, so I could work towards both at the same time. And it took me 3 years of applying to get into school. So by the time I got into school, I had ended up finishing my degree. So I did get a bachelor's degree in exercise physiology. And some schools look at that as bonus points. They see that you're committed and you're finishing a program. Other schools don't really care whether you have a degree or not. They're just looking at the grades that you got on your prereq classes. So you'll definitely want to do research into the schools you're looking into and see what they're looking for, so that you can be the best candidate possible.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the places they don't really care what degree you have. The ones that do require a degree, they don't care what degree you have as long as you have the prerequisites. There's people who get a degree in women's studies or film or other things like that, but as long as they have the prerequisites and they see that they meet that requirement, then it doesn't really matter what degree you get.
Yeah, there's a fellow student of mine who was got his degree in accounting and didn't really like accounting, so he finished up prereqs for pharmacy school and Yeah, so it doesn't matter which degree you get.
Okay. All right. So you've been in pharmacy school for. I mean, you're in your second year. Um, what what rotations have you done so far? I know you said that it was um, you do you do some you do a lot of coursework, but then every once in a while they have you do a rotation. What are the different types of rotations that you have done or that you will be doing?
Yeah, so right now I'm in the middle of my third, what they call a community rotation. So I've done a rotation at three different community pharmacies.
Is that just like a retail pharmacy?
Yeah, like a retail pharmacy, like Walgreens or Walmart or something like that. So I've done three. So I'm in the middle of my third one. So the first year I did like a retail pharmacy rotation, and then like I said in the summer I did another retail pharmacy rotation at a different site, a different retail pharmacy, and then also over the summer I did a hospital rotation. It was kind of like an introduction to hospital pharmacy. So, so by the end of my second year, I will have completed three retail pharmacy rotations and one hospital pharmacy rotations.
Which one is there one rotation that you have planned for the future that you're excited to do?
Yeah, so your third year in my program, you get to choose a bunch of different rotations. There are certain core required rotations, and then there's some elective rotations that you can do. Uh, so those are more. They're all each rotation is going to be 6 weeks during my third year. So I'm looking forward to that being 6 weeks on a rotation rather than being in class and then going to a rotation. Sometimes, um, you just want to learn and go to work. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm looking forward to the variety of different rotations that I'm going to be doing next year.
Cool. All right, now, um, now I know, you know, going to college is always hard, especially the college life where you have people who are uh, there's people who are partying or people who are just staying out late, sleep in, and a lot of people who, sometimes they just don't go to class. Do you see that a lot actually in pharmacy school? Like, are there people who don't go to class but they show up for tests, or is going to class definitely a requirement?
At my school, attendance is not required. So there's definitely people who you only see during test days. There's people who you see coming in late, and the faculty encourage you to go to class, and I think they like it more when you go to class. So um, part of pharmacy school isn't just taking the classes and passing and getting your degree. You're making impressions on the staff who are going to write you letters of recommendation, and you're so it's important to make a good impression with the staff, with the faculty,
So
but it's required.
it sounds like it's like a lot of other places. It's a lot about networking, and getting those references and those people who can network and help you out in the future when it comes to finding you know a job placement or something like that, right?
Yeah, every every uh, professor or faculty member that has come into class, they've always said pharmacy is a small world. So you're gonna run into people, and they're gonna know somebody who's gonna know somebody. So making a good impression at all times is important. So people, I'm not saying that people who don't come to class aren't making good impressions other places. Because if they're getting good grades and they're in the top of their class, then they're making good impressions that way also. So.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and rewind a little bit, like I guess in series wise, but on the questions it's later down the list. But um, preparing for the PCAT or the pharmacy exam, um, or the entrance exam. What was your experience with that? How long before the test did you actually study?
It was probably 2 months, and I did it. I scheduled the test right after my semester of taking calculus, and one other class I can't think of right now, so that I would have that fresh on my mind. It was more difficult than I expected to manage my time during the test. So I would definitely make it. It's kind of hard because it's expensive to take the test, but I would recommend taking it multiple times, at least twice, because that first time is an experience of how, where you're going to sit and what each part of the test looks like.
Well, do they not have practice tests where it's like it's a real experience where you can learn how to pace yourself and learn how much time, because what is it? Do they give you like a minute, 30 seconds per question, or they calculate it out to where, okay, if you take this long for each question, then you'll have enough time. And so there's full length tests that you can do online that'll prepare you to take that, right?
Yeah, and I would definitely recommend doing those.
But I guess no experience is better than the real experience itself.
Yeah.
But I mean, what is it? I mean, I think is it $200 for the PCAT? Something around there.
I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, it is a pretty penny. So a lot of those practice tests will definitely help, doing it online and just prepared for it. Um, so how long was the PCAT? Did they give 6 hours? Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And did you get any sleep before you took that test? Was it pretty stressful?
Yeah, it was pretty stressful. And my test was early in the morning, so I probably didn't get as much sleep as I should have.
Oh, okay. And yeah, it looks like someone commented. They said $210 for the PCAT. So thank you, Lachina, or Laddie China 5 for looking into that. So working in the pharmacy, um, and I'm sure you've had this experience too. But working in the pharmacy, you get a lot of the issues that you deal with as a pharmacy technician is the insurance aspect of medications. What's covered, what's not covered, and do you guys, in pharmacy school, do you guys touch on that at all, or is that just something that's like, it doesn't have to do with the drugs, doesn't have to do with the drug interaction or anything like that, so don't worry about it?
Yeah, so there's different areas where you could talk about insurance. There's pharmacy law that you go through, and then we did have a class that touched on Medicare Part D and Medicare and how that's set up, but there isn't really a whole lot of emphasis on how insurance works. A lot of that just comes from experience through your rotations and through being a tech. There is an area of pharmacy called managed care, which the insurance company or PBMs or hospitals will employ pharmacists to do the research and to recommend what's on an insurance formulary. So there is an area of pharmacy that does talk about that, but it isn't touched a whole lot through our classes, at least not yet.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, the most recent pharmacy that I've worked at, a lot of the pharmacists, they're more about the patient safety, and the insurance issues they usually direct towards you know the the pharmacy technician side or the customer service side of it. So I mean that makes sense a little bit. So part of the requirements, or tell me, is part of the requirements to get into pharmacy school, service in your community, helping out in your community, and in pharmacy school, do you still find opportunities to help the community at all?
Yeah, so doing service and doing community service and helping your community is going to put, extra check marks on your resume and make you a more admirable candidate. And there's a bunch of pharmacy organizations that you can join once you're in pharmacy school that will also give you opportunities to help in your community. So earlier this year, I had the opportunity to be part of a blood drive, which to help out the community, which was through one of those pharmacy organizations. So, yeah, getting involved in that is going to help you stand out to getting a job once you're out of school.
Cool. All right, now here's a question that might be, it's just just a question that's on here. So as a white middle-aged man attending pharmacy school, do you notice a lot of diversity in school, or is there a certain type of person, um, or is it a pretty good mix of people?
Yeah, in the school I'm at, there's a good mix. Um, you can you can look at the stats of schools through the Farmcast website. You can see if certain schools are accepting more female or more male, or if they're 50-50, or um, if they like in-state residents, or if it doesn't matter. But there is a lot of diversity in my school. There were other schools that I interviewed at that didn't have as much diversity. But at my school, there's a lot of diversity with different cultures and uh, males and females, and yeah, so it's a good diverse group at my school.
Have you seen any older people who have started pharmacy school, or I mean, it's never too late to start pharmacy school, right?
Yeah, so I'm in my 30s. There's people that are older than me, and there's people that are younger than me. The youngest in my class is probably 22 or 21. I'm not exactly sure. So there's a broad range of ages. I would say there's maybe one or two that are in their 40s. So yeah, there's never a time when you're too old to go to pharmacy school.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for your time, Trevor. I appreciate it. I know we didn't get to some of these questions, but um, we appreciate you coming on, and we appreciate the participation of the people. If you did like this type of video, please like and subscribe. Um, click the link or click below the like button, and we'll try to get some more of these videos, maybe of some other pharmacists. Maybe I do know a few pharmacists that might be interested coming on here and talking more. But thank you very much, and I hope the rest of you keep on farm teching. See you guys later.
Thanks.